Hi, Armoured Pants here, and I have another video for you in the French line. This is the Tier 5, the tank destroyer, the S35 CA. As always, we will start off looking at the tech spec, and we will use blitzhanger.com. You have moved up from the South 40 to this. This is, I believe, a better tank destroyer than the South 40. Although, like the South 40, as we discussed, it does have a very vulnerable point on it, which we'll discuss in a bit. This is a tank destroyer with all the classic attributes of a tank destroyer. It's pretty quick, it has a big gun, 90mm, decent rate of fire, decent reload. It does good damage, 225 average rolls, penetration of 175 on the APCR, penetration of 135 on normal AP rounds, so it's very good. 45mm of pen on the HE, so it will go through light tanks. So it gives you a lot of options with the gun. You can switch the shell around to good effect. Muzzle velocity is low, but using supercharge we get it up to 1,000 meters per second, which is okay, but it's not great for tank destroyer. So you will need to know how to use deflection shooting. If you're not sure what that is, please look at the tank destroyer guide I have, where we actually show what deflection shooting is and how to do it. It's also in the heavy tank guide too. Here in this gameplay you'll see actually I have a couple of deflection shots, so we'll slow it down. You can see a couple of examples. But please, if you haven't watched the TD guide, please do, because you will need it to understand exactly how to play TDs, because there's a different play style to them. As I said, this tank is a typical TD in many ways. It has no real armour. You can get some bounces on it, but let's put them down to luck. You can't really play for them. If you look at the angles coming up here of relative armour on the top left hand side, you'll see at no point did it really go red. So any bounces you get might be off the top part or these slightly angled armour pieces either side of the front, but you can't really play for it. It's not dependable. So any bounces you get, you should take as a bonus. The gun mantlet takes up quite a large portion of the front face of it, so you may get some bounces off that, but again, it's difficult to play for. So you should assume you're going to be penned every time and take any bounce you get, and you'll see I get one in the game. Take that as a bonus. Now, here comes the major weakness that we spoke about. This tank is a cabriolet. It has an open top. Why is that such a weakness? Well, if the enemy is shooting down from above you, HE rounds can one-shot you. If you think about this tank in reality, the ammunition is stored in here and the crew is in here. So therefore a HE round in there can detonate your ammo rack or kill all your crew, and it's going to do severe damage. The tank can explode from the inside out. So be careful where you set up, be careful moving in the open. If you're moving across low ground and the enemy is above you, even the smallest caliber gun can fire HE rounds into the top of you. That is a major weakness of this tank, and you really need to be careful about where you're positioning and where you're moving on the map. Otherwise your game can be over before it's even begun. We look here at the spaced armour. You will see that you have a bit of protection for the tracks, but the tank is pretty mobile. It has great traverse already, so you don't really need the engine accelerator, so I would go for 2 repair kits. Looking here at the front, you see what I said about those sloped armour either side of the face of the front of the tank. You may get some bounces on them, but really I wouldn't play for that, because there's a whole big space to aim at there with little or no armour. In terms of tactics, long range sniping obviously is good for this tank, despite the not so good muzzle velocity. Peekaboom, it says average. I wouldn't recommend it in this, although you will see I do sort of a semi peekaboom in the brawl here later on with the Panzer 4G. It is good in a brawl situation because the traverse on this is surprisingly good. If you've ever faced one of these in a medium tank, you will have been surprised by how fast it traverses, right? And then the gun is so big and does so much damage, it can really hold its own in a brawl, so to bear that in mind. But ideally in a tank destroyer, the perfect game is not to get into a brawl. The perfect game is to remain unspotted, unseen for the whole game if possible. Now here I'm going to be a good team player. I was going to go to the right to support the meds and the light tanks. Unfortunately they have different plans, so I need to rethink that scenario. No point going off there on my own. So this is not working, so let's rethink. So I'm going to go to a secondary sniping spot. This is a sniping spot which you may have seen in my videos before. It's not a usual one, but it's a really good sniping spot. You can, particularly if your heavies go down to hold this pass on the bottom left hand side of the map, you can put in a lot of damage from there. But it depends on how your team deploy. My team are not really deploying to suit that spot, so I relocate. And I'm going to go up to this classic TD spot here in the bottom left hand corner as we spawn. It's elevated, it has soft cover, and with my camo numbers I can really do a lot of damage from here if I remain unspotted. So this is my third position. This is the tertiary position on this map, and at last it's working. I can open up multiple fields of fire here, and I can really start to do some damage with this great gun and this decent reload. You saw there in the KV1 I got knocked down even though I didn't do any hit point damage to him. Now I'm reloaded and I'm just looking at it. I seem to be opening up, as I said, multiple fields of fire here. Put one into the T34, switch back to AP because I had APCR loaded for the KV1. Interestingly, you saw there on the APCR round I got a higher alpha roll than I did on the normal AP round at the KV1. So this, I guess, is just an indication that shell types, the damage to do are indicative. It's not really always going to pan out that way. So this guy just escapes here. He just gets behind that building, but not for long. My Leo takes him out. Again, I'm searching for targets. I'm remained unspotted, so this is really good TD play here. This is a really good TD game. If you remember, if you've watched the Tank Destroyer video I put up, in that I show that the Tank Destroyer is not chivalrous knight on horseback fighting fair. It is the ninja, the silent assassin who comes in, and perfect Tank Destroyer play is to remain unspotted the whole game if possible, or certainly as long as possible. Now here's a deflection shot coming up here, and let's have a look at that. So deflection shooting basically is aiming in front of where you want the shell to go, as I did there. So I aimed slightly in front of where I wanted the shell to go into the Wolverine, and then fired and hit center mass of the turret. So deflection shooting is effectively allowing for the fact that the shell has to travel over distance and aiming where the target will be when the shell arrives rather than where it is and risking a miss. It's a technique developed by World War I fighter pilots, later perfected in World War II, where they would aim their cannon and machine gun in front of where the enemy plane would go. Now I'm going to be spotted here, so I decide to move. I push forward here. I'm actually going to try to ram him, but I just get him on the edge, swing around, and you see that good traverse in action there. I swing around and then bam, clear him. Now it's a 2v2 situation, but it's going to be a 2v1 really, because my Matilda, he's way away from me. He's not helping at all. Now I want to get him down to one shot, so again, lovely shot on him. Back off so the Panzer 4G doesn't have a shot on me. I'm reloaded and I'm going to set up for a killing shot on him, and he obliges me by driving straight out. I think he was trying to use his speed to get around behind me to circle a death me, which if I'd been on a reload would have worked. Now, interestingly here, I get this bounce I spoke about when we're looking into tech spec, and we're going to slow it down and have a look at it. I'm going to slow it right down to 25% so we can see it in action here and see exactly what happens. So I fire, get my shot in, and then you can see just as the Panzer is about to shoot, he hits an incline, moves the gun up, and it gets a bounce off the lip of the top of my tank. Now I can throw caution to the wind a bit, because I have a bigger gun and I have more hit points, and I'm able to take one hit from him and clear him. So there we go, pretty good Tank Destroyer game. Almost 2.8k of damage in a tier 5 is pretty impressive. Actually over 2.8k of damage, mastery badge, 4 kills, and really that is a very good way to play any Tank Destroyer, but particularly this one, because it plays to its strengths. It's great gun, it's relatively good reload, it's high alpha rolls, it's good camo numbers, and I basically remained unspotted for most of it. And then when I did need to move, I moved and used a fast traverse And then a little bit of luck to get the bounce on the Panzer, although I still had conserved enough hit points to get the kill on him anyway, I believe, even if the first round had gone through. So I think that's a pretty good a demonstration of the strengths of this tank and how to play it. As I said, its weaknesses are this open top, and you really need to be careful about that, and of course the lack of armour. But having 0 armour on top really is asking for trouble. And for this reason, when we recap, I would say that this is a difficult tank destroyer to play. It has several weaknesses, as I said, but the main one being the open top, the cabriolet. It has a good gun with good pen though, really good, and that is a characteristic you really need in a tank destroyer. Use a supercharge and a refined gun. You need that because you're going to be shooting from distance on this tank, and you want to have maximum muzzle velocity and maximum loss of penetration over distance. The 90mm gun has great pen on HE rounds, 45mm, so remember to load them up. With the muzzle velocity, as I said, it's way under 800. It's way under 1,000 meters per second, so you need to use the supercharge to get that up. And because of that relatively low muzzle velocity, you need to know deflection shooting for long distance shots. So please, again, look at the tank destroyer guide in which you have that explained. And the open top is a big problem. Let's not kid ourselves here. You are a big target, and if the enemy gets above you, you are screwed. Therefore, there's limited tactics with this tank, and you need to play with a thought as well. And if you see at the start of the game, I was constantly thinking about what to do with the tank, and I relocated 3 times until I was in a decent position. If I wasn't thinking and just went off on my original plan, I would have been dead, and we probably would have lost that game. So you really need to think when using this tank, because it is limited in what it can do. And therefore it's a tough tank to master, I believe. But if you do, and when you do, it's great fun, because getting those lovely alpha rolls into smaller tanks and even into the big ones like the KV-1, etc., really does give you a great sense of satisfaction. Again, to re-emphasize, if you haven't already, please watch the Tank Destroyer Guide on channel, because that will give you essential information on how to play tank destroyers and what their role in the game is. Alright, cheers Mush, thanks for watching, pants off.